just to have an idea of the sites, we have the evidence of three pre-Inca groups. First, we know about Lima culture. This is the group that built Pucllana in 400 AD, 400 after Christ. And when Limas built Pucllana, they believed in an area to worship the sea, the ocean. It was the main deity. And this is the main building of this ceremonial center in honor to the sea. This is the Great Pyramid. And here you can see the architecture, everything made of mud bricks. Millions and millions were produced in Pucllana to build this temple from a flat area. Little by little, the area or the building was getting higher and higher. Talking about the original shape, it would be like a rectangular cake with 7 levels, 7 platforms, and all the walls painted in yellow. The access to the top was by means of ramps. We don't have stairs in this architecture, just ramps. Even more, it was part of an original entrance, a big ramp that was going in zigzag till the top. But Limas made a lot of renovations in the architecture. So you can see this original entrance totally closed. We have other entrances in the back side of the building. During the renovations, Lima people made rituals like human sacrifices, breaking of vessels, and banquets where the main dish was the shark, very appreciated. So little by little I will show you the areas for these specific rituals, for each ritual. So to continue with the pyramids, we are going to walk through Hatun Pata. Hatun Pata is the main square in Pucllana, okay? We have two Quechua words. Huaca means sacred, and Pucllana, place of amusement, a place for games, okay? But everything related to religious purposes. For example, games in this period, breaking vessels, also the action of dance, sing. These actions were considered games in this period. For example, here in the lower part, we have Hatun Pata. This is the public area. You can imagine Lima people singing, dancing, playing musical instruments, very important for celebrations. Flutes, panpipes were found here, but also archaeologists found 30 female burials. We are talking about human sacrifices as evidence in this section. And you should know that life was considered the most appreciated gift. This is the only way to avoid natural disasters, to have a good harvest, abundance in the farming activity, fishing activity. So that's why we have offerings, human offerings in this square. The main deity in Pucllana is the sea, the ocean. But in the last years of occupation, this deity was considered a female one. The name Mama Cocha, another Quechua name. Mama Cocha, sea god. So, to have a connection with Mama Cocha, most of the human offerings were related to women. But there is a characteristic. For example, women were about 16 years old, 20 years old. And most of them were mothers, so I mean they had already children. So this is the connection with Mama Cocha, and also the asking for abundance. First, in the fishing activity, this is the main resource for Lima culture. But over the years, the Limas abandoned Pucllana. Probably no water in the surroundings, no more water. So when this area was abandoned in the 800s after Christ, we had the arrival of a new group. The name is Wari, Wari culture. This group was developed in the south of Peru, and when they arrived to Pucllana, they considered this place a sacred one and perfect to bury leaders. So Pucllana in the 800s became a privileged cemetery. So I will show you a couple of tombs in the upper level. Of course they are empty because all the bodies were taken out to be studied, and thanks to human remains we can know the average time of life, illness, or the cause of death, if we have a natural death or probably a human offering. As you can see, really seems to be like a hill, and even more some neighbors of Miraflores continue remembering the hill of the Huaca Pucllana because it was the official name in 1900s. But now you know this is a temple. First we are going to see 40 years of work, the results of the excavation, and then we are going to see the area under study. Okay, going to see remains of yellow color. Okay, that's the official color for all the pyramids. All the pyramids was painted in yellow. Also here in the lower parts you can see little holes, but this is the evidence of offerings. In most of the holes, archaeologists found coca leaves, seeds from different products, corn, seashells, miniatures made of clay. With these offerings, the priests or leaders were able to ask for protection, to ask for an advice to the deities, mainly the sea. So this is the offering square, a privileged area during Lima culture. But I was mentioned in this group abandoned to Pucllana, so the evidence of Wari, the second group, in the highest point. It's open to the public 2 months ago. Excavations started here in 2009. But these works are finished in 2021. So 2 months ago, this area was open to the public. The name is the viewpoint of the Apus. Okay, Apus, hills and mountains that probably we are going to see from that side. But also you are going to see original tombs from the 800s, the evidence of what is in Pucllana. Tombs are empty, all the bodies were taken out to be studied, but when we are back I will show you a representation of the bundles, a funeral bundle, okay? Original tombs from the 800s, 1 meter deep, 3 meters deep, and the size depends how many characters were found in each one. In some tombs, archaeologists found 3 people, an adult, a leader, and very close children. But in the case of children, after studies we know they were offered to the deity. We are talking about human sacrifices also in this period. In other tombs, archaeologists found 11 people. So more offerings, we think the character was more powerful, the leader was more powerful. For sure there are more tombs because the other side of the pyramids is under excavation. As evidence, let me show you this side, please. For example, here you can see more tombs from Wari culture. For Waris, the death was very important. They believe in a new life afterward, in a new life after death. So that's why tombs were well prepared. We have bodies placed in fetal position or seated position, accompanied with food, textiles, and then everything wrapped in layers of cloth. Over the bundle of the leader, we have a fake head that represents the new life in the afterworld. And then all the tombs were covered with pieces of wood and cane. At the moment, 82 tombs were identified. But if you look a little bit farther, you can see the area under excavation. Well, for sure, more tombs. Archaeologists used X-rays to see what's underneath the dirt, so they identified more tombs. And probably the evidence of other groups that occupied Pucllana. At the moment, 3 pre-Inca groups. First, we have Lima culture. This is the group that built Pucllana in honor to the sea. Then we have Waris reusing this temple as a privileged cemetery. And when this group abandoned Pucllana, we had the rise of a new group named Ichima. Ichima culture, 1400s, the last occupation in Pucllana. And then we think because of erosion, dirt that was collapsing from the upper levels, little by little everything you can see was totally covered. The result, the hill that was in 1900s. As you can see a little bit further, that's the condition of all the sites. Well, archaeologists, they continue working, and they mentioned they need 50 years more to finish with excavations. So in future, probably some of us are going to see the complete area, the complete pyramids with more findings. So to finish in this section, well, it's clear, but we have mist over there. So in that direction we have the ocean. Normally from here we can see the ocean in that direction. And let me show you there. Okay, there you can see some hills, some mountains. That's the beginning of the central Andes. The chain of mountains, but in the central part, the Andes, starts here. That's why that section is named the foothills from the Andes. Well, in ancient times they were considered apus, protector gods. And so that's why also Huaca Pucllana was classified as ceremonial center, because all the findings here, beautiful potteries, beautiful textiles are related to celebrations. So we don't have evidence of people living here. Not elements, spoons, pots, or probably elements that were used in the everyday life. Vice versa. Everything found here related to celebrations. And because of the pandemic, we are not able to see these original findings, but during the way down, you are going to see copy of potteries, of coca leaves, everything found in the excavations that start in 1981. Here we have a good example of how leaders were buried. Just to know, the tomb, the niche is original, everything inside is copy, but it's the way how the original funeral bundles were found. We don't have mummies, instead we have funeral bundles, so it means a skeleton, a dead, placed in fetal position, but just the bones survive to the years. And then very close to this skeleton we have cotton, we have coca leaves, we have corn, and then everything wrapped in layers of cloth. Just over the bundle of the leader you have a fake head. Okay, the fake head represents the new life after death. This is the beginning of the journey to the afterworld. That's why the tomb was well prepared. And these bundles in both sides, in the walls, the smallest you can see, they are babies. They were about 1 or 5 months old. Well, after studies we know they were human offerings, and archaeologists mentioned probably children were considered guides to the afterworld. That's why they are accompany leaders in most of the tombs. I mentioned 82 tombs were identified. In most of them, this is the model of burying people, the leader and human offerings beside. And then the tomb was covered with pieces of wood and cane. This is the original material. Only here you are going to see this covering, this roof. This is original from the 800s. So as you can see, we don't have new architecture. What is adapted this area? They destroyed some platforms, they make hollows, they prepare the structure in order to bury their leaders. And this use finished in 900s approximately, so after 100 years of occupation. And then Waris had a decline in the political organization, internal division. So it means that many families stayed in Lima, but they were divided. They were not Waris anymore. But years passed, and in the 1400s, these families decided to get together, so they make a new group, the name Ichima. Ichima culture is the last occupation in Pucllana. Well, I will show you a social representation of this group to have a better idea. But please, before going down, in this area you can notice these poles. They are a copy of the original ones, but they mentioned this area was roofed, was protected. So you can imagine the leader here talking with the deity long hours, asking for protection, for an advice. And during this celebration, the leader used to eat shark meat and drink chicha de jora. Okay, just to know, chicha de jora is like beer but made of fermented corn, and the evidence in the vessels archaeologists found in that section, well, they are a copy of the ones found here. Eating shark, drinking chicha de jora was a sacred activity, just for the leaders, just for the priests. Know about osteoporosis, tuberculosis, and the size of these people, 1 meter and 40. So these characters, you are going to see more. They are in real scale, physical characteristics, the way of dressing also is based on archaeological evidence, okay? Copy of the vestments in this period. These characters represent Ichima culture. This is the last occupation in Pucllana. They are giving offerings to another deity. The deity was named Pachacamac. Pachacamac, the lord of earthquakes and tremors. This deity is represented in a wooden carving. You can see a wooden carving in this ritual. That's Pachacamac, the lord of earthquakes. So giving offerings is a good way to keep deity in calm and also to avoid natural disasters. Over the years, also Ichimas worshipped the ancestors in this section of the temple, and in 1400 they abandoned the site. Well, we don't know the reason. I was mentioning the arrival of Incas in 1450, so probably Ichimas escaped from the Incas, but before they buried intentionally parts of the temple to protect it. And then because of erosion, dirt that was collapsing from the upper levels, everything was totally covered. So again, you can see there the condition of Pucllana before official studies. So really seemed to be like a hill. That's why some groups were practicing motocross over this temple. But happily now it's safe. We are going to see more about the 40 years of work. Official studies start in 1981. Limas could obtain mud, a lot of mud, and then in other sections clay. Less than 2 kilometers away, seashells, because we are very close to the ocean, roundstones, and water. Water came by means of irrigation canals. Canals were connected to Rimac River from here 6 kilometers away to the central part of this city. Well, irrigation canals in some cases survive, but not anymore to supply water, but to irrigate these green areas in modern cities like Miraflores, Surco, La Molina, and more districts. So now we go to the other side. Well, this is a long way. We should get the direction of the restaurant, but we are going to use this way. So you are going to see in this section some native crops and animals that were domesticated. These products, these species exist in this period, in this early period of 400 AD, and they continue existing in our days. In some cases, people continue chewing coca leaves to have more energy, to work hours and hours without eating. There you have native cotton, unique in the world because of the natural color. Native cotton from Peru is unique in the world because we have a variety of natural colors. Yellow color, blue, and yellowish, and also the most common white color. Very appreciated for the textile.
Okay.
Also, this is the original vegetation that was growing around the temple in the swamps, in the underground water. Also here we have hockey ducks that were part of the nourishment. They live in the swamp. Now we have just one swamp in Lima, in the Cerrillo district. And here we have llamas, alpacas. Well, this one not a good presentation, but this is a llama. Okay, the llama is bigger, the neck is longer. And the one with light brown fur, just the one with light brown fur, is an alpaca. You can notice the difference talking about the size. Llama is much bigger, the neck is longer, and also the face is longer. It was used as pack animal to transport possessions, potteries, and not the people. People should walk long distances. Llamas just were used to transport possessions. It can support 40 kilos approximately. And in the case of the alpaca, the fur, very appreciated for the textiles, is very soft. And also because of the meat, the people used to consume alpaca meat. Well, in our days, it's part of the Peruvian gastronomy. And these animals can be mixed, and as a result, we have hybrids. The name for these hybrids, Misty, Wari, and Warisus. Depends if the llama is the father or the mother. So we have the names for these hybrids. Here we have one hybrid that is 2 years old. From left to right, we are going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the 4 to the right is a hybrid. The name is Misty. Misty is the result of llama mother and alpaca father. It is 2 years old. Also, the fur is appreciated for the textile, but softer. Alpaca fur is softer. That's why it's more expensive. Yeah. Well, not good presentation. Sometimes they are very friendly. You can touch them, but we should pay attention to them all the time because they speed suddenly and they speed a lot. Just to know. These characters that represent workers in Huaca Pucllana, in this case the bricklayers. And here we can see the process of manufacture for the mud bricks. First, pressing the mud with the feet in order to add crushed seashells, water, clay, mixing everything, and then giving shape by hand. So I mean, all the mud bricks were shaped by hand and dried by the sun. No firing process in Pucllana. So according to the studies, 200 years were needed to finish all the construction. And in these periods also there were celebrations. We know about people dancing, singing, giving offerings, and also breaking vessels. So a lot of fragments from big vessels were found in this section. I will show you a social representation of this ritual. So we go please to the last section of the temple. This is the last representation we can see about Lima people, Lima culture, the first group in Pucllana. Just to remember the groups in this temple, Limas, they built Pucllana in honor to the sea. Waris used the top of the pyramids as a privileged cemetery. And finally, Ichimas using the lower parts of the pyramids to worship the ancestors. And after this group, no more occupation in Pucllana. Here you can see the representation of the first group, Lima culture, but they are the priests, they are the leaders in the temple. Characters that are based in archaeological evidence, also the way of vestment is a copy after the findings, sandals, and the leader here is holding a stone in order to break the pottery. So it was part of the ritual, and this action means a change. Probably a change in the architecture, a new government in Pucllana. Happily, most of the fragments of the vessels were found, so they were reconstructed as puzzles. And designs were visible. For example, in the copy, the design is a stylish shark. The shark is the main symbol of the sea, but also in other vessels we have ocean waves, fishes, sea lions, everything that's mentioned how important was the Mamacocha in Pucllana. Mamacocha, she got. So to finish with the explanation, we have more than 1,500 years of history, but archaeologists continue working. They need 50 years more. And the meaning of Huaca Pucllana, two Quechua words. Huaca means sacred, and Pucllana, place of amusement, a place for games. In that translation, we have a sacred place for games, but games like this one, related to religious celebrations. So dear visitors, this is all the information I could share about the sites. Thank you so much for your attention. Please, we should live together, so let me accompany you a little bit more, okay? Thank you so much.